Oh, hold on for a minute. I need my glasses. Won't be able to read anything. So I'm doing a live, obviously. Someone had gotten a hold of me last night, and I just happened to catch it because I had to let the dogs out. They wanted to go to the bathroom. Obviously, that's why they want to go outside at midnight. And someone had told me that Nathan Stolman on Lift the Veil was having a Issac Kappy panel. And so I went in there just to see what it was about. And there were people I didn't have a clue who they were. But Corey Daniel was in there. And so I listened for a while. And the link is in the description. So you can go in there. It was probably the last hour because the thing is about 2.5 or almost 3 hours long. And I sat and listened until I couldn't. I had to respond. So I started making comments in the comment section and started engaging with Corey Daniel and his wife. It was interesting, to say the least. And I'm very excited when I get done with this live to share it with investigators. Something that just jumps out to me first and foremost. When Issac did that last Periscope video where every time he said he wasn't suicidal and if anything happened to him, he didn't do it to himself. Every time he said that in that Periscope video, you could hear someone hurting a dog. And it only happened when Issac Kappy said that he wasn't suicidal. It didn't happen. The Periscope was about an hour long, and it only happened when Issac said he wasn't suicidal. And I was told that it was Isaac's dog. But then it became DeFango's dog. So last night, it started off that it was DeFango's dog. But when that didn't work, then Corey Daniel had his wife, the Sicilian witch, come on. And suddenly it was Issac Kappy's roommates' dogs. So the story fucking changes in real time. And that was the key part of it. They will say that I was chicken. I didn't want to go get on there. I tried to get on there. But hitting that SteamYard, I think it was a link for SteamYard, it kept wanting me to sign in with my YouTube account. And I wasn't willing to give my password. Hey, Sherilyn. Hey, Lee. I wasn't willing to give my password because I didn't trust it. Nathan Stolman, as far as I can see, is repeating Issac Kappy's mistakes. He is surrounded and inundated with bad people. And when I got in there, Nathan Stolman wasn't even in there. It was a picture. He was in the chat typing every once in a while, but it seemed like it was the Phoenix Enigma show. And Phoenix Enigma, Corey Daniel and I engaged with them because even though I did not go on camera, and I wouldn't have been on camera anyway, it was midnight. I had fell asleep at 7 o'clock. I did not want to be on camera. I looked like shit. Hey, Lavinia. And so I looked like shit. And so I tried to get on there. because I thought it would be fun as hell to engage these people. My impressions from the whole situation. First of all, the fact that they don't really talk about Famalam. They don't talk about anything that Issac Kappy was involved with before he ended up dead. And the story I told Corey, you say you're driving under the bridge at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, but then you want to be heralded as a hero because you were on the bridge. So now he says he didn't say he was on the bridge. So people who have heard him say that he's on the bridge, I guess, were liars or mistakenly heard him. But now that story has changed again. He went on trying to discredit any satanic Nazi pedo rings. There's no satanic Nazi pedo rings. And that's why I'm excited to share what he said in that video. Because he talked about he was involved with 10 camps that supposedly had child trafficking going on, and he dispelled them all. And there's no such thing as a satanic Nazi pedo ring. Even though the Guardian reported the FBI information that a year ago last September in New York City, the FBI busted a satanic Nazi pedo ring. What I believe is what I've always believed. They're all part of the CIA. Doug Mesner was in there as Adam. I'm sure it was, and Skills was in there. And Skills was just like, and that's Kara from Free Range Humans. Skill isn't her name. Skills obviously is not her name. And she said, oh, well, you called me Emily Thorne before. Yeah, because you have so many different accounts. Emily Thorne isn't a name either. It's a character from a soap opera called Revenge. That wasn't a real name either, just like Skills isn't a name. The reason why I think Adam, and you should just go and check out the hey, Smokey, your book should be coming anytime now, by the way. The thing about it is that the chat is what is interesting. And they kept saying I was chicken, but even though I wasn't on video, I was responding in chat. I was responding. All the stuff that they were talking about. Yeah, Smokey, I hear that you have strep throat. I'm sorry. Never had strep throat, but I hear it's really painful. So they want you to think that everything they say is gospel. That's what they want. They want you to think that everything they say is gospel. That's probably the biggest difference between them and me. I don't expect anyone to say what I'm saying is gospel. I just want you to consider what I'm saying, and I just want investigators to go look and see if it's true. See if there is merit to what I believe. Because I obviously believe there's merit to what I believe. But the whole situation was they are trying to spin the whole Issac Kappy thing. Like, once again, he's been dead for what, 5 years? And so they're in there. And people were irritated because I guess that it became the Phoenix Enigma show. He was desperate to control the narrative. And what I found interesting is at the very end, after dealing with me, that dude went from being all cocky to looking like he was constipated and had been for weeks. The look on his face was hilarious. I was amused at the very end. I thought it was funny. But the link is in the description, and I suggest that you go in and read the chat. I didn't get there from the beginning. At the beginning, from what I understand, Nathan was saying that Ella High Priest was involved. That's bullshit. I don't know how Ella High Priest, being in Australia, had something to do with what was going on in Arizona. But I do know that they are concerned that things are being investigated. The reason why I say it's CIA, I think Thomas Schoenberger is CIA. If you go look at that video from Vice, type in Vice News, Thomas Schoenberger, and go watch that video. I'll put a link in the thing where you can go see the stuff that I've dealt with Thomas Schoenberger. I believe Michael Aquino was CIA. Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Dog. Or Satanic Dog, sorry. That was a Freudian slip. I was reading I saw what Sherilyn wrote. But the Satanic Temple, sorry about that. And if you go read what Shane Bugby, who was also a co-founder of the Satanic Temple, says, Doug's working with the CIA. It's the CIA who's involved with this child trafficking bullshit. That's the reason why it's been kept so secret. And so I believe that that's what's all involved. I believe that Doug was in there. I know Kara from Free Range Humans as Skills was in there. You know, I know that she was in there. She was sitting there trying to argue with me. And I would have gone on, but I wasn't willing to put my password in what it was asking me to do. Had I been able to just go in there and go on, hey, Sharon, I would have just gone in. But as it was, I wasn't willing to give my password. But it's hardly fair to call me a chicken when I was responding in the chat. You know, I was responding in the chat. And as far as I'm concerned, it was what, midnight, 12:30, when it all started to go down. And I wasn't in the mood to go jump into a den of hyenas so that they could insult me, you know? Sherilyn, I need you to do your thing, you know? Funny, my mom's been dead for fucking years, you know? So that would be interesting how that works. And so, just kind of a dumbass. That's the shit that they have. That's the shit that they have. You know, but last night was interesting. And I do have to say, it was fun. It was fun. I actually want to set up something to where they'll come in and I can actually have them all in and just confront them, because they think that if they insult me and attack me and all of that, it's going to close me down. And it's not going to close me down. You know, it's not going to close me down. And I wasn't closed down last night either. I said what I had to say. You know, personally, me, what I believe that Issac Kappy was terrified. And so I think he reached out to Craig Sawyer thinking that Craig Sawyer would help him. I think that, thank you, Sherilyn. I think that Craig Sawyer and Thomas Schoenberger were at that military base. There's so many dead people connected to him. And that was the whole thing. If you read the chat, I wasn't the one pointing that out. There were like people saying, wow, there's a lot of dead peeps around you guys. You know, there's an awful lot of dead people around your group. Statistically speaking, how is that even possible to have so many dead people? You know? And it was who I was talking about when I thought Defango. It wasn't Defango, it's this Shark Belly Kelly person. You know? And so it was, you know, she ended up dead. And from what I understand, she was feeling bad about everything that happened that went down with Issac Kappy. And so that was ending up happening. But who's connected with her by his own words? Best friends. Talked six at Corey Daniel. He says it in there. That's what he said last night. They talk 6 times a day. You know? That's... it's fascinating to listen to what they said. Fascinating. You know? Oh my God, you guys, give it up. Give it up. You know? And there's obviously two. It's Geo, but it's funny because Geo's clown sex sucks. His YouTube took down his account. And this morning there was a message that was left by somebody. I took screenshots of it, but it was an account that they had just set up 28 minutes before to leave a comment on my video. Because that's what they do. They hide with all of these anonymous names and think their insults and all of their bullshit is actually going to make a difference. You know? And so, it's just kind of ridiculous. But, it was a fascinating conversation last night. Fascinating. They can't even keep their lies straight. You know? And so, and let me point out that the Sicilian witch, Corey Daniels' wife, is supposedly the last person that Issac Kappy talked to. You know? And so, I just want to point that out because investigators will listen to this video. And I want to do this video and I want to send it along with that live. And, a lot of people got a lot of screenshots from there too. So even if the live disappears, the screenshots will actually, the conversation will still be there. And people will wonder why the fucking thing got taken down. Hey, Cognitive. And so, it was interesting last night, to say the very least. And, oh my God. Sherilyn, you're going to have to be a bit faster. They're just setting up accounts so that they can come in here. And talking about my dead mother, you know? If they're having sex with my dead mother, who they couldn't because she got cremated, it's just creepy. Hey, Saki. It was interesting that Nathan Stolman, at this point in time, had an Issac Kappy panel. And what I think is happening is that they realize that Issac Kappy's life and who he was connected with is all being investigated. I know that people are looking in, investigators are looking into the Erling, Iowa gas station explosion. I know they are. And this whole thing, it went, and see, I don't really care what they have to say. That's the whole thing. I don't give a shit what they have to say. Their stuff is stupid, you know, and it doesn't get to me. But in the chat, there are decent people who actually want to have conversations in the chat. And they don't want their stupid, they don't have to deal with all this stupid shit. And so therefore, you know, that's what we're in here for. Last night, if they were going to get to me, they would have gotten to me last night. And they didn't get to me last night. I just kept responding until I finally decided I wanted to go back to bed. I mean, it was after 1 when I decided I wanted to go back to bed. And I'd gotten bored with the conversation. Let alone, at the very end, some crazy woman came on. But I think that was all it done. That was all a thing, too. They did a Thomas Schoenberger hit list, where Thomas Schoenberger has come. It's all controlled opposition. It's all meant to just... It's meant to run the conversation. Dealing with them is no big deal, you know? And that's, again, they're coming in here as an anonymous. And they're upset that I'm dealing with the whole situation from last night and giving my take. But I was in there giving my take last night when the shit was going down. You know, I was in there. And even if Nathan removed my comments, Phoenix Enigma brings me up and starts reading the shit that I wrote. And so it is not even a question of whether or not I was in there last night. I owe it to a friend, you know? Oh. See, to me, it's not about the quantity of people who subscribe and like this channel. It's the quality of people. They're looking into everything. And that's the reason why you're watching this kind of shit happen. That's the reason why they're going through and having Issac Kappy panels, because they want to actually run they just want to run the narrative. They want to control the narrative. And the narrative, the thing about the narrative that's interesting from last night is that even people in that chat didn't believe them. I actually had support in that chat last night, you know, and I felt bad because there were people who wanted me to sign up and get on there and engage with them. And I tried, I woulda. I just was not willing to put my password to my account because they want to take my account down in the worst way. They want everything down. It is 100% controlled opposition, Susan. You know? And Smokey, their names are not even, you know, they're telling. They're telling. So Corey Daniel last night went on and on and on about how he was involved with all of these camps and that there was no child trafficking going on. That there was no child trafficking going on. It would be perfect to send to investigators because they know just the opposite. You know, they know just the opposite. And this whole there are no satanic Nazi pedophile rings. Well, you know, the Guardian's article and the FBI report says just the opposite. And for someone who's so in the know, who has been to all of these camps and can tell you that there's no child trafficking going on, it's funny that someone so in the know isn't aware, I guess, that satanic Nazi pedophile ring got busted a year ago last September in New York City by the FBI. So how is that possible? You know, if you're so in the know, you know everything. You know everything there is to know about Issac Kappy's death. You know everything there is to know about everything that was going on, all of the child trafficking. What it says is that you're completely involved and enmeshed in all of this. That's what it did. And I think at the end of that conversation, that's exactly what Corey started to realize, is that I was going to send out the shit because by his own admission, he's heavily involved. By his own admission, he's just as involved with it as fucking Thomas Schoenberger is. And they talked about Thomas last night. It was, you know, but my experience, what I believe is that they're all working together. They're all one big group. They want you to all think that they're opposing each other, but that's not the case at all. I think the thing is that they're all working together. And yesterday, Thomas Schoenberger sent me emails saying that he was going to take me and get a restraining order on me for harassment. And I told him, you go ahead, dude, because then I'll just bring in all your fucking emails and Johnny Dub's emails and that Chris, that Australian blood diamond dude, Australian dude that you all sicked on me and that you guys were all going after me. And do you want to know what that fucking idiot said? His emails are private. So I can't talk about that. So his shit that he's doing to me, that's all private. You know? I guess that's how it works. You know, laws and rules are just for other people, but not for this group. And the hunters have become the hunted. And they're desperate to control the narrative. And they're not going to be able to control the narrative. Too much shit is out. I know that everything is being investigated because the Erlin, Iowa gas station explosion was a domestic terrorism event. That's what it was. There wasn't just one explosion, there was two. They were 9.5 minutes apart. My sheriff knew that because he was interviewed by KETV. I know that he was interviewed by KETV, and that Dan, the owner of the gas station who got out, went back in, got his brother-in-law, got them both out to safety until the second explosion leveled the place. I know he was on there, and the reason why I know he was on there is because I was also on the KETV news report. You know? There are no whistleblowers. They're not whistleblowing shit. They're protecting each other and running the shit down. Funny how not a one of them last night was willing to talk about Craig Sawyer and Russ Dizdar, who were the ones running around national television talking about that homeless camp in Arizona that was on the border that had the child-sized shackles connected to the trees. They didn't want to talk about any of that. But that was the very thing that got Issac Kappy murdered. Because Isaac was running with that, you know? And so the lid is already blowing off the child crimes. That's the reason why they're so desperate to try and control the narrative. And when Issac Kappy says the day before he ends up dead, they didn't say anything about Craig Sawyer. They didn't say anything about Craig Sawyer. They didn't talk about him. They didn't talk about Russ Dizdar. And if you go look, the very first thing I typed was Issac Kappy reached out to Craig Sawyer, and I believe it was Craig Sawyer and Thomas Schoenberger who murdered Isaac at that military base that was 2 miles away from that bridge. And it was Daniel Dowd and Corey Daniel who put Issac Kappy's dead-ass corpse on that bridge. I have said it over and over and over and over. That's the funny thing about it is that one of the people that was involved with this thing last night said the same thing that I get told all the time. I'm consistent. Everything I say is consistent. My story never changes. When I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But unless you prove to me that I'm wrong, more than an emotional, you're wrong because I feel you're wrong, so you need to be wrong, that doesn't work with me. You know? That doesn't work with me. But otherwise, and it's because my past, the history, what's happened in the past is static. What happened in the past that I talk about today will be the same fucking thing I talk about in a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now, or a decade from now. Unlike them, my past isn't fluid. It doesn't change. So it's easy to just remember when you're just telling the truth, when you're just recalling the facts of what happened. And so, oh Jesus, they signed up with another account. They have nothing better to do. You know, nothing better to do. And they actually think that it is going to actually have an effect. You know? Oh, my little cardinal is back. I have a cardinal who just sings to me every time I come outside. You can hear him. Here's my voice, and he just starts just singing away. It's really pretty. I love the animals. My animals are just... Anyway, it's just... Thank you, Sherilyn. Your job today, you're I would say that you're earning your pay, but you ain't getting paid. but I appreciate it anyway, you know? And so, it's just, and Lavinia, I hope your daughter is doing well. I hope she's doing better. Smokey, I hope that you're getting better, you know? I just, it was telling last night. And the person who told me about it was just, I appreciated it so much. I again, it was a God thing because I'm never up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm up in the morning. I'm up at 1 o'clock if the dogs have to go pee because they wake me up because they want to go to the bathroom, and I fell asleep at 7 o'clock. The only reason I got the notification is because I had to get up to let them out, so I looked at my phone. And it was about midnight when it happened. A little probably a bit before midnight. And it'll be interesting. The background noise is fine. You guys can hear me fine. I don't need anybody to actually do anything with my videos. Thank you. I don't need anybody to have control of my videos because I don't need any editing. It's, you know, and so Lavinia will keep praying, you know. In fact, let's just pray right now. Heaven, we come to you as your children. We live in interesting days, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming out. And the bad guys are now starting to sweat for the first time ever. They're no longer so sure that they act with impunity. And we're grateful for that. I'm definitely grateful for that. All of the bullshit that I have had to deal with this group, I am glad that their shit is finally coming into the light. And there are some of us that are in need of healing. Not only spiritual, but physical. Lavinia's daughter. Please just, it is your will, and that is what we focus on, and that is what we abide by. But try to make it a little bit easier, a little bit more gentle. Smokey, you know, it's, I don't know. I've never had anything that made me stop talking. And so perhaps people are wishing that that would happen. I don't know. But we are grateful, and we know that things are coming down the pipe. And it's hard not to have fear and concern. And we just ask that you fill us with grace and help us be strong. And we say these things lovingly in your Son, our brother's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. So, things are getting interesting, to say the least. They're getting interesting. And I don't think that they're going to be able to control the narrative. I just don't think they're going to. In fact, I know they're not going to be able to control the narrative, and they're desperate to control the narrative. And I have a bunch of them on top of me. And I just don't fear. I just don't. Everything is providence. You know, it's all in God's hands. And just like last night was, you know, and their shit dries out my eyes. And so I keep getting styes. My eye is bugging the shit out of me. Because their little toys have been awful. But I now know more people who are involved, and they're just going to try and And what you can hear in the background is that it seems like everybody. Oh, 420. It's interesting. I did a short yesterday about 420. On Twitter, they're saying that Donald Trump wants to declare martial law, and that he started this on January 20th, and he had to give it 90 days. The Insurrection Act, it's that act saying that we're in wartime, but we're not in wartime. But they say that he wants to declare martial law, and it's going to happen on 420. I don't know if it's true or not, but it was interesting because Easter is on 420. But it's funny. I'll just, because I know she won't care. Sherilyn and I brought it up to Sherilyn, and she was just like, 420, that seems like some sort of Nazi holiday. And she didn't know what it meant. So while we were on the phone, I type in April 20th, Nazi. And it's Adolf Hitler's birthday. So could they be declaring martial law on Adolf Hitler's birthday? All of this shit is Nazi. That's the reason why Corey Daniels went out of his way yesterday in that Lift the Veil thing to say that there is no satanic Nazi pedo ring. That there's not. Skills was in there. Adam, who's in the chat, I believe that's Doug Mesner. He uses fucking other names, And they have so many names, but they were all in Nathan's chat last night. They were all in Nathan's chat. And the reason why I think that Adam was Doug is because Adam was saying, oh, David's acting out. Oh, David's crazy. Oh, David, because he doesn't like what I have to say. And just because you don't like what I have to say doesn't mean I'm crazy. I haven't seen a video of the 1933, but it's interesting that Trump wants he wants a parade on 4. He wants a military parade like they do in North Korea. Resurrection Day is likely the day heaven's army rises up. I'm just knowing that pretty soon we're all going to have to take a stand. Whether or not it's in our best interest or not. And yeah, it's going to be scary as shit, but put suspenders on your panties if you have to. We have to make a stand. We have to make a stand. And we can't just let the evil happen. We can't just let, and for the first time ever, I think that, and do I think that martial law, they're thinking about martial law? Well, when you consider all of the protests that just happened with hundreds of thousands of people, yeah, I think that they could, Trump wanted to gas a bunch of protesters to get him out of the area so he could do a photo op holding the Bible upside down, which, by the way, is a picture of Hitler. Hitler has a picture of himself holding the Bible upside down. All this Nazi bullshit, That's the reason why Corey Daniel yesterday made it a big point of there's no satanic Nazi pedophile rings. No such thing. Anybody who says it, it's their line. They're crazy. So how do you explain what happened a year ago last September in New York City when the FBI busted a global satanic Nazi pedophile ring? And what were they doing? Just type in global satanic Nazi pedo ring and The Guardian. And the article will come up. Cognitive, it could very well be, We all know we're being called to take a stand. We can all feel it. Last year's eclipse is tied to Esther in 480 BC. She was all about the liberation of the righteous. Passover ties in. Yeah. Easter is a bigger holiday than Halloween, than Samhain. Easter is a bigger holiday, bigger than Christmas. Easter is one of the favorite, that's when they murder the most kids. When I was a kid, that's what they did. Now I know that all the people on Nathan's thing last night, Skills and Doug Mesner and Corey Daniel and all of those people will say, oh, there's no such thing. But then this is the same group who has a lot of dead people all surrounding them. You know? It's interesting how many fucking dead people there are. And they all think they're clever. They always think that they're the most clever. And they're very good liars. They're very good liars. Didn't know what about 420, Smokey. For me, the biggest thing for 420 was just it was a smoking holiday. You know, it was the international time for pot smokers. But it also happens to be Easter this year. But it's funny, 420 is the International Day of Pot Smokers, but it's also Hitler's birthday. That just seems weird to me. And I did not know that it was Hitler's birthday. But then I'm not a Nazi, you know? And so, but I'm going to keep this short. As you can tell, I'm in a bit better mood than I was yesterday. I just wasn't in the mood yesterday to do a video. Plus, I had other stuff that I was involved with that I didn't want to break away from. And this stuff gets to be tiring. You know, it gets to be tiring. I'm tired right now. And the little fucking directed energy weapons bullshit is just exhausted. That is a good point, Susan. They want to be relaxed on 420. Susan, thank you for stopping in. I'm going to end this here pretty soon anyway. I'm tired. I have things that I have to get done. And I have a nap on my schedule. I need a nap. You know, I was up late dealing with this bullshit on Nathan's. And is Nathan bad? Is he just mentally ill? Which he says he's mentally ill. As far as I'm concerned, what fucking difference does it make the reason? He's giving them a platform, a voice. The result is the fucking same. So is he doing it intentionally? Is he not doing it intentionally? Who gives a fuck? The result is the same. What difference does it make what his intentions are? The result is the same. And they're on top of me, you know? And as you can tell, I wasn't shying away from shit last night. I was dealing with it in the chat. You know, I was dealing with it in the chat. For me to have gone on video, I would have had to change clothes, pull up my hair. It would have just, you know, been incredible. And at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't willing to do it. But it wasn't like I was shying away from anything because I was typing. I was engaged in the chat. You know, I was engaged in the chat. So it wasn't like I was shying away. It wasn't like I was running away. You know? And I don't ever remember Corey Daniel engaging me on X. I never blocked him. I did block Skills. You know, I blocked Tara Joyce. I think Skills blocked me. You know, after the whole conversation that we had, I think Skills blocked me on X. But you want to know what's not blocked? My email address. It's not blocked. He has access to my email. He could send me fucking shit anytime he wanted. You know? The reason why he doesn't is because I post it on my blog, which he bitched about last night. I'm sorry, but when you're upset that I just post your own shit to show people, that's your problem, not fucking mine. It's not my problem, you know? Post anything that I write, because I generally do. I end up posting my shit too, you know? In fact, I'm more eager to post my stuff and my replies than their shit. This child trafficking thing, but if I was an investigator, I would want to talk to Corey Daniel. Fuck, he knows about all the goddamn homeless camps. He knows about all the shit. So why wouldn't you want to talk to him? Go fucking talk to him. And then keep aware how many times his story changes. You know, when it's not convenient or there's an inconvenient truth of something that he said, it will change. Like it was DeFango torturing his own dog when Issac made that Periscope video. I never understood that. So now they know that I've said that. So now suddenly the Sicilian witch, Corey's wife, the one who was supposedly the last person to talk to Issac, which she's not, but was intricately involved with Issac by her own admission, now says, oh, well, it was Isaac's roommates, dogs. So, but his roommate wasn't there. So Issac left and just what? Just left those dogs in the apartment alone? That's how it worked? You know? So the story will change again. It will change again. It changes and then it goes back and then it changes and then it changes back and then it changes and then it changes back. The stories are not consistent. The shit they say is not consistent. And if someone tells you something and they're not consistent, it's generally usually a lie. Isn't that how it works? And why would Corey Daniel lie? Maybe because he was way more involved with the death of Issac Kappy than he wants anyone to know. You know? That would be the only thing I could suggest. You know, that's the conclusion I come to. And they think their insults are gonna have an effect. They insulted my hair. They insulted me. I was stupid. I was crazy. Adam as Lucian Greaves as Adam. Oh, I was acting out by simply typing replies in the chat. You can go read the chat. The link to the live last night is in the description. You know? He's a piece of shit. He talks really fast and he dominated the conversation. People in the chat were bitching because he dominated everything. It was the Corey Daniel show, the Phoenix Enigma show. You know, Issac went off and did something. Fuck, who knows what he was doing, you know? And you have to ask yourself, why now? 5 years later, why now? What's different about Issac Kappy now, 5 years after he died? Why would they suddenly start being concerned about Issac Kappy 5 years after he died? Maybe it's because I've come along and pointed out all of their stupid shit that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You know, that's what I think. And it's not, oh, I'm all that and a bag of chips. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that I certainly seem to have an effect on every single one of them. One that they don't much care for. And so, the one I find incredibly interesting, I found yesterday to be entertaining. I found last night to be incredibly entertaining. I almost wasn't able to get to sleep because I was so jazzed about what happened last night. And the person who told me kept apologizing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but my emotions are my emotions. I'm responsible for my emotions. And, I don't know. That's a question for her. It makes no difference to me. The situation is interesting because all this shit is coming out and they're all going to link each other to each other and it's all going to come out and the allegiances are going to come out and the intrigue is going to come out and the lies are going to come out. And when all that shit comes out, the crimes are going to become exposed. They're already becoming exposed. And that's all I give a shit about. That's all I give a shit about. I just know that Susan's been pretty cool. I don't have any problems. I haven't had any problems with what she said. I've had no problems, And there are people who are information gatherers. I know one in here already, in this room right now. Doesn't have anything to say because they just like to watch. If I wasn't as involved with this as I was involved with, that's what I would do. I would just go watch. I would watch both sides. I would watch everybody, including me, with a discerning eye. I would watch everyone and try to come with my own conclusions. That's what I think should happen. Even with me, don't consider what I'm saying as gospel. Discernment is a good thing for everybody. And I just ask that you consider what I'm having to say. That's all I'm asking. That's the difference, like I said at the beginning of this live. That's the biggest difference that I see between me and them. They want you to take everything they fucking say as gospel. Don't even question what they're saying. What they're telling you is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. You can write it in stone. But if you write it in stone, you better have an eraser that works with stone because it'll change. And for me, I just ask that you consider what I have to say. Look, at least just consider what I'm saying. I'm not trying to lead anybody. I'm just trying to expose this. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you, Smokey. That's what I believe. My work is working. Which is why they did a live last night about Issac Kappy, an Issac Kappy panel. Do I believe that Ella High Priest is behind what happened to Issac Kappy? No. Do I believe that Ella High Priest and that Australian government dude tried to set up Issac Kappy so that they could set up Fiona Barnett? Yes. That's what I believe. I believe that Issac was working with Ella High Priest, and it was all set to fuck up Fiona Barnett. Like I said, I heard the conversation. When Issac Kappy couldn't bring that Australian government dude and Ella High Priest to that gathering, that family gathering that Fiona was doing at the time that Issac Kappy went down there, I heard on the phone he was yelling and breaking shit. And then he turned to Fiona and said, "Who's on the phone?" And Fiona told him David Shurter. And so Issac went outside. So I couldn't hear him inside anymore, but I could still hear him yelling and breaking shit outside. You know? And so Ella High Priest was all about Fiona Barnett, not about Issac Kappy. If you want to find out what happened to Issac Kappy, look a little bit closer to home. All the people are all involved with the Dead Issac Kappy Club. That's why I call him the Dead Issac Kappy Club. Everything about Dead Issac Kappy. They didn't talk about any of the child trafficking. They didn't talk about that homeless camp in Arizona that he was doing. They barely touched. They avoid that Famalam program of Issac Kappy's. That's what they're afraid of. Because they're using that Famalam program to target kids. That's what it's being used for right now. And they're all involved. And so if you want to know who was behind Issac Kappy and his death, who the fuck is part of the Dead Issac Kappy Club? It's not that hard. Go to Nathan's Live last night and go look in the chat. Adam, I believe, is Lucian Greaves. Skills is Kara, the free-range humans person, who's also known as Emily Thorne. You know? Doug Mesner as Adam. It's not different. He's Johnny Dubb. He's Andy Villa. He's John Kilrush. He has so many names. Like I said, they all fancy themselves Legion. They're many. You know? There's so many of them. There's just one sitting at a computer. But like you saw in today, how easy it is to just type in an account after 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 account. Unfortunately, thank God it slowed down, because I can only imagine that Sherilyn's fingers are fucking tired. You know? Having to get rid of each one of those accounts. The one that just happened today that actually went and bitched, that tried to discredit the Adolf Hitler shit, had just been set up 28 minutes before. So they set up an account to make a comment on one of my videos 28 minutes before. You know, it is CIA. They're all government. Shane Bugbee said that Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, was working with the CIA. That's the reason why he left the Satanic Temple. Who did Vice? I don't remember the dude's name, but if you type in Vice News, Thomas Schoenberger, the dude that they were interviewing was a CIA director. Worked with the CIA, and just the mere mention of Tom Schoenberger's name made that man walk out of the interview. That's the whole that's the whole thing. You know, I'll put the link to that in here. I forgot to put it in the description, but I'll put the link there because I have it on my blog. That's the reason why they get mad at me, because I end up putting all their shit on my blog so everybody can read it. Michael Aquino, CIA, you know? That's a no-brainer. Thank you, Cognitive. Robert David Steele. That's the CIA dude who was being interviewed by Vice News. And just the mere mention of Thomas Schoenberger's name made him stand up and walk out of that fucking interview. You know? It's not a conspiracy theory. You know? What was I talking about in my living room when I had then Chief of Police of Harlan, Derek Yamada, sitting in my living room? I said that what was happening was being directed by the CIA. That's what started the whole fucking conversation. That's how I found out about everybody in my neighborhood. Because... Stop. Get out of there, you dumbass. Sorry. I have little ones who are requiring my attention. This child trafficking. it's all CIA. The shit that was going on, you know? Skills. Works with Lucian Greaves. I would be willing to bet that if she's not CIA, she was just recording everything in my house for 4 days. My sister, my friends, she was recording everything, let alone in that big ass RV that she parked in front of our house. Quit it. You weirdo. Yeah, you're cute. So, it's not hard to figure out. It's not hard to figure out. You know, it's not rocket science. And what does the CIA, what is it known for? Fucking bringing down governments. That's what it's doing. You know? And they think they're clever, but their shit is coming out. All their secrets are coming out. That's what's working. That's how it's working. You know? All their fucking secrets are coming out. And they don't like it. And what do I have to say about it? Tough shit. Tough fucking shit. You know? Tough shit. Black sites, black budget, dark deeds. That's exactly it, Cognitive. You know? And our children, your children, because I don't have any children, obviously, not going to have any children, are at risk. You know? And if you want to see him in action, go to Nathan Stolman's live video that he just did last night. It's not even, 12 hours old? The link is in the description. Like and share. You know? Comment on the videos. That helps. As you can see, I turned off the little things so I can't have their little scrolly faces, because God knows that wouldn't stop. They're busy having sex with my dead cremated mother last night, which is just creepy all in and of itself. You know, you won't be able to see any of that because Sherilyn blocked all of them. But that's the comments at the beginning. I guess that they're hiring grade school kids at the CIA now, because that's what it seems like, you know? Or they're recruiting those that ride on the short bus, you know? Because as a kid, I thought that these people were just the biggest, baddest, scariest. As an adult, having to deal with them now, I can't believe they have the brain power to chew gum and walk across the room and breathe all at the same time. Because they don't have very many brain cells. They're very good about hiding in the shadows and playing a bunch of games. But, thing about it, Smokey, is that they have to be very careful of some of us, because some of us, God protects some of us. The majority of us in here especially, you know? And so, but with that said, I'm going to get off here because it's an hour, and I wanted to stay at an hour. I will not be doing a live tomorrow since I did a live today. However, 1 o'clock Sunday, it will be Testament Sunday. Smokey, you get to go first, so you better have your shit ready. It's all about God on Sunday. How we found the Word, how it's changed our lives, and how we serve the Word. And that's how it's going to work. And I think that there are several people in here who have very interesting stories. And I'm not going to go, because realize I'm going to have to be reading the stuff that you guys write. That's what I'll be doing in here, is the live, is, you know, reading, probably asking questions. And so if you guys are interested, but I'm sure you guys are bored with my testimony. You know, it's not like I haven't gone on and on and on about my own testimony. But it will be fun. And I think that it will be enlightening for all of us and empowering for all of us. And I'm really looking forward to it. That is one of the things. And as all of this pedophile stuff starts getting investigated, focusing on the word and encouraging all of us to actually do what we need to do to take a stand and serve the word, that's where the focus is going to start going. Because I think that God has all this other crap in hand. It's all getting ready to be exposed. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing now if they weren't worried about it themselves. And of course, they're going to pump up their chest and walk around like frickin' peacocks, trying to convince people that they're all good, that they're all powerful, blah, 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 blah. But wasn't it Shakespeare who said, they doth protest too much? You know, they're trying to convince themselves. Smokey, that would be incredible if you could give me a heads up. And sending it to Sherilyn is the best way. You know, sending it to Sherilyn so because she forwards me whatever she feels I need to. But then am able to have a conversation because sometimes I just need to have focus. You know, and Sherilyn helps a lot with all of this, you know. Everyone owes a debt of gratitude to Sherilyn because she works this shit hard. And I'm totally appreciative. Go check out the comment section at least on Nathan's video. I come in at about an hour. You'll see because I was pretty constant with my comments. So if you don't see me, I haven't been in there yet. But if you do see me, make sure you scroll back enough to where you see it, because I was pretty constant with my comments. I was definitely engaging with them last night, you know? And so, like and share. That's just it. Like and share, please. It helps. And, it was midnight. It's the comments from the last hour. And the whole thing about what's fun about the comments is once I start talking, they start engaging with me. They become very focused on me. Phoenix Enigma was very focused on me. And I was engaging in the comments. I didn't stop until I decided to go to bed. And then I said, I'm done. I got to go to bed. You know? And so it's pretty much the last hour, the comments of the last hour. The rest of it is just, I think it will be good for investigators to listen to. But Phoenix Enigma started to spin really hard when I got in there. And like I said, he was all that smirk on his face when it all started. But in the end, the dude looked constipated. That's just how I perceived it. But he looked constipated. And it was funny. It was amusing. I had a good time last night. I had a good time with that last night. You know, had it not been so late, had it not been so late, but it was late. You know, 1:30 in the morning for me is late. And so, I thought it was funny. I thought it was interesting. You can see the birds flying around. They hear my voice and they like to come out. They're sitting on the fence. It's funny. And I have a couple of them sitting right here. So, we are important, even the shit that's going on. I don't like what Nathan's doing. have to question which side he's on. But what difference does it make? It's all valuable. You know, I would have never been able to get what I got last night had it not been for Nathan starting that show and someone getting a hold of me at midnight and telling me that, because when I read the thing, I thought that it was over. So I was just going to go in and just look at it. Didn't realize it was still going on. And so I sat and listened to it for a while until I couldn't hold back any longer and I started to comment. Because I knew once I started to comment, the focus was going to become on me. And it was. It did. It came on me. Not literally, because that would be disgusting. Ew. Gross. But I knew the focus would fall on me. And it did. It did. It fell on me. Both in the chat and what was being said. And I was entertained. At the end, I felt like something had been accomplished. I just felt like it had been accomplished. Skinny D. I wish I was skinny. I'm 230 pounds. I'm almost 6'3", though, so I'm not super fat. But when I get out of the shower, I do everything not to look in the mirror until my clothes are on. And even then, I'm very selective of what I'm looking at. But at least my gut doesn't hang completely over. Like I've said in other ones, I may be fat, but at least I can see my junk, I agree with that, Cognitive, and that's a good way of saying. Cognitive said, I think Nathan is vulnerable, but strategic. Cautious with what he says, but constantly pushing the line. I agree with that. And last night wouldn't have happened had he not done what he did, And it's funny because when I was in there, he was in the chat and he just sat back and watched. I bet he was entertained too. Skinny P was 6.68 and 400 pounds in muscle. Trust me, I used to be muscle. I used to work out 3 hours a day. And we don't have to agree 100%, for sure. That's very true, Katie. We do not have to agree. I have my own opinions, but that's just it. They're my opinions. You can agree with them. You can disagree with them. I can tell you what my experiences are and that's the biggest difference between me and them. They want everyone to think that what they're saying, take it as gospel. And me, I was just, I also don't want to be 106 cognitive. Oh my God. I would look. Oh my God, I would look to. But then I'm also tall. I would like to be 200, between 200 and 210. That's what I'd like to be. The 230 is just. And Katie, we do appreciate you. Smoky Weed, I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate all of you. And I appreciate that you guys all have your own opinions. And I also agree that you guys don't always agree with me. You have your own opinions. And when I say something and you have a different opinion, I appreciate that you guys are able to share those opinions. Because how would we learn if we were all the same? I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I don't want everyone to, I'm not a cult leader, I would like everyone to have their own thoughts and their own opinions and be able to voice their own thoughts and their own opinions. Even and especially when it conflicts with mine. Because how else would I learn? Well, you ain't going to be a cult leader in here because, for the most part, people in here are leaders, not followers. And that's what I like in here, is that most of you impress me as leaders. In your own right, you lead. And I'd rather be in a group of leaders than followers, you know? And that's what I have. That's why I enjoyed this chat so much. Because you guys are leaders with your own thoughts and your own opinions. And again, I like the fact that you are able to voice those thoughts and those opinions, even if they go directly against what I'm saying. You know? I just, I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to Sunday. Sunday will be a longer one. It'll go probably until my phone dies. I'll have it completely fully charged just in anticipation. But I have a feeling I think that there's a lot of people in here who are just hungry for Sunday. It is something we are all looking forward to. And I am definitely looking forward to it. You know, Testament Sunday, right before Easter, a week before Easter. What better, you know? And in fact, I think that depending on what happens next week, maybe that will be my focus, but I can't necessarily say that because God knows stuff could happen and then that takes precedence. But I think at least the next two, you know, we'll do Sunday, and then maybe I'll go back to doing Saturday. Because just realize, Sundays, I've done Sundays before, and it brings the trolls. And I'm not sure if they're the bad trolls or if they're just dumbass kids that have nothing better to do than stick their thumbs up their ass. So, you know, that's probably a bad analogy, but it just seems that there's a lot of juvenile shenanigans that go on Sundays. So just keep that in mind, especially for Sherilyn, you know. But with that said, I'm going to get off here. Thanks, guys. I went a little bit longer than what I wanted to, but it's been fun, you know. Skinny D is actually a good name, Smokey. I like it better than Dave. Because really, when it comes down to it, Dave actually seems forced. Skinny D is kind of funny because I'm not. But I also like Cognitives calling me Grizz. I just don't know if I measure up to that. Bear is amazing. And so with that said, we'll be out of here. Hey, Wes. You caught me at the time because I'm going to end this. Skinny D is pretty funny. It is amusing. You know, it is amusing. I wish it was more true. I just wish it was more true. But Sunday at 1. That's what we're planning. Sunday at 1. Smokey will be first. And then we'll have Smokey go first, but then everyone else can join too. And just realize that it'll be me reading the chat. For the most part, it'll be me reading the chat. And so with that said, peace be with all of you guys. Have a blessed day. And hopefully I'll see you guys on Sunday. So, all right. Bye, guys. Like and subscribe if you can, you know. Smokey, I tell you what, why don't you send Sherilyn a synopsis of what you want to talk about, and then why don't I just start asking you questions? And it will be a lot of typing. So, with that said, everyone, maybe I'm just going to leave it open. Again, it's going to go with the flow, you know? So if people are listening to Smokey's story and they have something to add, or your own personal reflections or your own personal experiences, then you can join in and it'll just go with the flow. It'll be what it is, you know? But the focus is Testament Sunday, you know? How we came to know the word and how we came to honor it. And I think it's just a great thing to do right before Easter. Good to do anytime, really, but especially this Easter. So, bye, guys. Sherilyn, I'm probably going to give you a quick call if that's okay. And so, I see you just texted. So, I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye.